welcome back to another Whiskey Wednesdays. It is me, Chris Dempsey, Mary Kelly, and Maurice Brooks out of San Francisco, the west side of the universe. I'm over here in the central part of the universe, and Mary's over on the east side of the universe. Today we have a very special guest coming in, talking to us today. She sits on the national chair for the USBG, and her name is Naomi. And Naomi, why don't you come on in and talk to us? Tell a little bit about Badu.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. It's good seeing you.
It's good to see you again. I know we just were able to catch up like a few weeks ago for part of the National USBG Leadership Conference. So it's good to see you again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we won something, correct?
We did. So the second year in a row that we've been honored. The first year, last year, we won Chapter of the Year for Dallas. And this year we were honored with our commitment to health and wellness. So we won a health and wellness award.
Yeah, I did a lot of stretching during that.
Well, we did a lot of stretching. Yeah, that too. But it wasn't just health and wellness for like our bodies and minds. It was also for our community and our commitment to community service in Dallas. So everything that we did for fundraising efforts going to, the United States Bartenders Emergency Assistance Program, also the $70,000 that we raised for tornado relief back in last October, and how we spent those funds. So health and wellness for our community as well. Also our activism and what we did over the summer, supporting our community, and just everything involved in, keeping our community strong as well as our bodies and minds.
That's great. So I think we probably jumped a little bit ahead of everything. Why don't you tell the world who you are and why you're where you're at? Like, how did you kind of come up to this fruition in your life, right?
Yeah, so that's a complicated thing. Well, I've been, connected to the service industry for about 18 years now, which has been quite some time. I spent, about a decade of that behind the bar, and then I stepped out from the bar to work with suppliers and distributors in both craft and, large scale models. And I wanted to stay connected to my community. So of course I wanted to stay involved in the USBG because it had given me so much, taught me so much about what I was doing behind the bar and how I was bartending and how I was managing and all of those like really wonderful tidbits he teaches about camaraderie and integrity and, sharing knowledge. And so I wanted to stay connected. And the best way to do that is, through staying involved. And so that was through leadership within the USBG. So I originally ran as vice president. I soon became president of the Dallas United States Bartenders Guild. I also serve as the chair. And then just recently, I was honored to be elected onto the National Council and then also to be elected as the Southwest Regional Chair. So the USBG is broken up into 5 regions. And so I'm honored to lead one of those regions. And then I'm also currently, just recently, I'm sitting on the National Leadership Council for the next leadership conference. So I'll be helping plan and stage that next year because every year we have conferences to kind of give seminars and help educate our communities. So that's what I do. And that's how I stayed involved and connected. Lots of things.
That's amazing. I have 2 questions about that. One a little bit facetious because I'm president here in DC for the USBG and was so excited to go to Texas for our leadership last time. So I'm wondering if we're going back to the ranch, and I'm going to sleep in one of the cabins this time, not in one of the other things.
Yeah. So I do know a little bit of something. I don't know if I'm supposed to share it or not, but I wasn't told I wasn't supposed to, so whatever. So normally in the springtime have our regional conferences, which is when it's really open up to all members, anybody can attend. And we do those in the springtime. But, because of the current situation with the pandemic, we just don't see that being feasible until the fall. So we're actually flip-flopping this year. So we're going to have the National Leadership Conference, hopefully in April or May, and that should be virtual. And then, hopefully, universe willing, we will be seeing each other in person for regional conferences in the fall. And then, in 2022, hopefully we switch back those fall and spring kind of sessions and get back to the ranch, because we all want to go to the ranch. But we learned a lot from doing the leadership conference virtually this fall. There was a lot of knowledge that there was a lot of things that we learned, just, how to execute it better, what went really well. Like everything was really valuable that was presented. But, we want to build on all those successes, and kind of take all of those deltas and turn them into successes as well. So that's the plan. So we look forward to seeing you hopefully again at the leadership conference, the national one, in person in 2020 or 2022.
Amazing. I was going to ask, have you seen, and congratulations on your award this year, and then, chapter of the year in this one, and a lot of the education, fundraising, health and wellness that went into that. How have you seen that change? Not necessarily go away, but how have you maintained some of that over COVID? And are there successes there that you'd like to see become mainstays, even in a somewhat semblance of a real world coming back?
Yeah. So, in Dallas, we have excellent fundraising techniques, and we do a lot of things. I was invited to be a presenter at the last leadership conference a couple weeks ago. And what I spoke on was fundraising and how we keep money coming in, and, whether that's brand sponsorships and partnerships for promotions, which is one of our key mechanisms. We have a commitment to our sponsors. We lay it all out in black and white. Here are our responsibilities and duties, and this is what we expect from you. And so that's one of our key ways of fundraising. And then we also do other things like cocktail catering. Like we would cater events and bring in our staff and do all of the batching and stuff. But, with COVID-19, like we're looking at a completely different world, and we aren't doing cocktail catering for large events, hosting, seminars and in-person events right now. So we had to kind of shift gears and to, see what was going to work best for us. And so what we did is we approached many of our, national partners locally, those local representatives that we have strong relationships with and that we've built over the years. And we asked them to help us support our local bars and restaurants, but also to help support our bartenders in the community and in the guild with like meal plans. So, early on in the summer, we asked, some of our great sponsors like Bacardi and Brown-Forman was an ace when it came to it. They basically gave us like, here's money to provide meals for your chapter and your community, and you can use it how you want. Here are some of our key accounts that really need some help, so that we could really support the restaurant community, because that was one thing that we saw was going to flounder, and still is, obviously. Like we haven't seen any like huge support from our government stepping in to help support like our bars and restaurants nationally. And so that was the one thing that we could do locally. So we approached all of our people, and we also told them like, hey, if you want to host like educational events, please come to us. Like we are not going to charge for those right now. Like this is a special time. If you're doing yoga classes, if you have somebody, like give us those Zoom credentials. We'll put it on our calendar. We'll do this. But then also, because of those years and years of fundraising that we had done before, we had kind of a nice little nest egg to support our community from within as well, with grocery programs. So it lots of different ways. It was definitely a shift in gears that we had to do.
Nice. So when you're at home and you're just kind of hanging out, I see you have a nice selection behind you.
Yes.
Bourbon, whiskey, what's your jam? What are you drinking?
So it depends on my mood, right? I don't know. I'm born and raised Texas. Like I live in Dallas. I'm from Fort Worth. And so I was kind of raised on whiskey always, and legally, this was done legally, but my father would always, offer me a little bit of whiskey with ginger ale at family things. So I'm a whiskey girl, born and raised. But I'm not going to say no to like a rosé or a CDP or something if I'm having dinner. Like, yes, I would love to have some wine. But, it depends on my mood. Like sometimes I just want like a good Gibson. Like I just want like gin and a glass and some onions. Like I shift gears a lot. The other night I had a wild hair at my head and make espresso martinis at 10 p.m. So I think it depends on my mood, but yeah, I'm a whiskey girl. And so most of what you see back here, like the first row is all, single malts and blended scotches, a few Irish, and then the second row is going to be American. And then moving up, you see like I got tequilas and rums and gins, and then up on the top I got my tiki ware and vodkas. And then there's other rooms where I have more vodka and closets and spirits just, you know, bouncing around here. But yeah, I'm a whiskey girl.
She
So
actually
whiskey-
encourages people to come over to her house and drink. It's
Yeah,
like
come
Naomi's
help me.
home water. So, Naomi, I know you love dancing. What is that one song that comes on and you're like, oh, let's go. I don't care. Let's go hit the floor.
Wait, you do know I love dancing. Oh God. Okay. Well, it depends. And I'm just gonna shamelessly like say like it might be like Miley Cyrus, like Party in the USA. I don't know, like, for some reason, or like something silly, like Call Me Maybe. Yeah, no, I'm that person. Like any like cheesy, like ridiculous, like yes, like that is a head bopper. Or yeah, bop. Like let's go back to Hanson. Like any of those. I'm a 90s baby, so like I grew up in the 90s. Like here we go. Any of that stuff, I'm good.
Favorite 90s song? Like if you could bring back any band from the 90s that like now, you know, that kids don't know about, who's that one band if they did another tour that you're getting tickets for, your front row t-shirt on with the glitter tassels and the whole nine?
Glitter tassels. Okay, so I'm gonna be very honest with y'all. Like my first 3 CDs ever. Mariah Carey, TLC, and Brandy. So if it's a group, I want to see TLC.
Yeah.
Like that's who, like I don't know. Those are my first 3 CDs. So like that's what I'd be going with.
Word.
Yeah.
On that note, what was the first concert you ever went to?
So y'all, I bounce around. I think one of my first concerts that I ever went to, I think it was A Perfect Circle. Yeah. Like, yeah. I like everything. I'm all over the board. So
So, can you talk a little bit about your time as a master of whiskey?
oh yeah. So well, you know, I've spent 8 years on this side of the bar working with different like distributors and suppliers. So you know, I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and I was fortunate enough to be contacted by RNDC. They were looking for a mixologist here in Texas. So I moved back, you know, home to DFW and took that. I was recruited by Sazerac to be one of their ambassadors. And then a few years later, a good buddy of mine, Todd Richmond, reached out to me and said, hey, I have an opportunity in Dallas. Do you want to hear about it? And I knew what he was doing. He was with the Diageo Masters of Whiskey. And so, you know, I said, well, yes, like that sounds lovely. So I took a couple of like nerve-wracking meetings because like here I am, just like this girl from DFW, like, you know, meeting with Morgan or you and Morgan, and, you know, talking to these folks that are just in this remarkable program, you know, some of the best whiskey ambassadors out there, just the resources they had. And so I was fortunate enough to be invited into their program. And then I kind of grew with that supplier for a few years. So I was with a total of about 4 years. And, you know, of course, the Masters of Whiskey program was dissolved and evolved into something else, and I stayed with them. But it was probably one of the coolest times of my life, just the amount of education that I was able to receive, the exposure to all of our distilleries, you know, here in North America, but also in Scotland, and being able to go and like work in those distilleries and to see firsthand and to actually experience what all those things were. Like, yes, we've toured distilleries before. I think we've all been to plenty of distilleries. We've seen those things, but to actually be able to sit down and, you know, learn the science and to learn, you know, why behind everything, you know, why fermentation times and pH levels are important and how it can affect your new make, you know, why certain like mill styles are better, wood science, like learning all about, how we treat our wood and like actually getting into the nitty gritty about those things. It was, an honor to be a part of that program. And the education was definitely, I think, like what inspired me the most. Like it brought out like that geeky side where I'm like, I want to learn, like I want to know these things. So yeah, it was cool. It was a good time.
I think Chris froze there. We heard your dog, Chris. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good.
Mailman, he
Come
hates
on,
the
Nick
mailman.
Red or something. Like Chris, the
What
new
were-
Nick Red.
Mailman.
What were some of your kind of favorite moments during that time as a master of whiskey for Diageo? Did you have like favorite distilleries you don't want you'd have to like pick one of your kids in that sense? But
I
certain
have a favorite dog.
experiences.
I have a favorite whiskey. Yeah, no, I think out of their Scotch whiskey portfolio, Talisker is always like, and it's not only because of like the juice in the bottle and like how they make it and all that stuff, but it was definitely my experience like on the Isle of Skye and staying there and just like I want to say like the visceral experience there, like looking at like these beautiful darkened periwinkle waters up against like these just like Kelly green, like rolling hills, like, and the bay and like all of these, row homes that are just these beautiful pastel colors. And then the distillery itself like sits, right on the bay. And so it was all of those things put together, that experience put together, that kind of makes that like one of my favorite whiskeys. I mean, I probably would have picked that out of a bucket anyway before I had been there, but afterwards, yes, absolutely. And that another one that I really loved was Dalhousie as well. A classic Highland and just like wonderful fruit and like just that classic Speyside style. But yeah, no, I definitely have a favorite from their portfolio in Scotch.
Yeah, it's really funny because I've been to Scotland when Tales went there actually, and it's not a super huge space, but it becomes so evident what those tiny microclimates like show in the terroir. It's really a drive away from another space. So, and I tend to like the Taliskers and Calilia and things like that. But Talisker is definitely a favorite of mine as well.
Yeah, you talk about like the drive time. Yes, like it's not a huge place, but it's just getting from location to location is pretty time consuming because like you're driving through all the hills. It's like so yeah, I'm with you.
So I have a question. So what's the one Christmas song that you know by heart that if it came on right now you could? And what's the Christmas song that you know that you should know, but when you get like halfway through it, you start to get your singing starts to get real low, but you keep moving like you singing though.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna be so honest with y'all because it is like a thing. Right now, I'm working with a local bar in Dallas called Hyde, and they're doing their annual Miracle pop-up, which like if you know anything about Miracle, it's just like Christmas. Like Christmas, like lights, thousands and thousands of lights. And so I listen to Christmas music like all day long right now. And so it's just so funny. I'm like, the answer is any Christmas song. If it came on, I would know the words because of like what I've been listening to. Just repetitive. But I mean, it's always going to be like Mariah Carey. Like that's always going to be it where you're just like, yeah. And then you get into it because that's like the quintessential Christmas. But yeah, all Christmas music right now. If I heard it right now outside of work, I might scream. But yeah, I'm with you.
So no. Now, what song do you know by heart? And what song so you saying you know any Christmas song. So if I was to play at the end of the show a Christmas song and ask you to sing it with us, you would know the song without having to need no musical cues?
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, I'm talking like 8 hours at a time of repetitive Christmas music, like all of it.
Fair enough. I
Or
won't
yeah,
doubt
like
it.
all of
I
it,
will
like
accept
old
the
and
challenge.
new.
Okay, well, I'm
But
gonna
yeah,
work on
no,
that.
All I Want for Christmas Is You is the one that's like always, I'm like, once I hear that every season, I'm like, here we go. It's on. Let's decorate. Let's do things. Yeah.
You remember Little Drummer
If you
Boy?
play that, I'll find you. Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
on. Although my boyfriend came home the other day with a Sharon Jones Christmas album, and I got so excited because I'm just like, yes, like that's. So we've been listening to that for the past few days because
Okay.
I do like Christmas music, but I
will find you a
really like
solution.
Sharon Jones. So like he brought that home, and I was like, oh yeah, here we go. So. Yeah.
So being in the holidays, what's your traditions that you like to do with your family or without your family? And have you already started kind of getting that squared away?
So, due to everything that's going on, like my father's high risk and love him to death. And so, we skipped Thanksgiving as a family this year. And I'm pretty sure we're going to skip Christmas. But our traditions are normally we get together on Christmas Eve and we do like our white elephant gift exchange. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Last year, I actually I got 2 live lobsters, packed them in ice and like put them in like a big thing and then just wrapped that in Christmas paper. So that was my white elephant. Like we all tried to do something goofy and silly. So I put live lobsters in. But we all just get together and, do stocking stuffers and have a good time and usually like cook, holiday food. I bake a lot. So I bake a bunch of pies. And that's how we usually spend, Christmas Eve. It's just time together. But this year, I think we're going to wait until after New Year's, quarantine for 2 weeks. Everybody like stay home for 2 weeks and then get together, around January 15th, just so that everyone's safe. Because, my sister-in-law, she's a florist. And so she does a lot of events. There is a tattoo artist. My sister is an artist and she's, working with museums and out doing murals right now. And so it's just like we all need to take a small break so we can all get together again.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
what are you what cocktails are you making holiday wise for your dinner?
So one thing that I love to do is I love to I'll age something, like I'll age a cocktail and then, put them in cute little mason jars and give them away.
That's a great idea.
I usually like to do something aggressive. I'm sitting on like a bunch of plantation overproof. And so I'll usually do something with that and like a nice like spicy, and by spicy, I mean like herbally spicy. I mean like, spice, not hot spice. And just do like some kind of a really nice like old fashioned with that. Maybe throw in like a little bit of a Maranino or figure something out around there. But that's usually what I like to do. I like to like tap into those like deeper, warmer flavors. And then I'm always a big fan of like, Mexican hot chocolate with a little bit of, agave in there. So
I think that's on deck for us on the East Coast today. It's snowing all day. So yeah. So we're very, very ready for that. You mentioned you had dogs and you had a favorite one, but how many dogs do you have? What are their names and what are their breeds?
And what are their favorite hobbies, right?
Yeah.
So I have 3 dogs. Like if anybody knows me, like they know that I'm kind of obsessed with my animals. These are my babes. I have a German Shepherd, Argos, who is about 9 years old. I have a German Shepherd, or sorry, I have a Boxer Pit Bull mix that is about 5 years old. That's Jasmine. She was a dumpster puppy, like literally found her in a dumpster, like brought her home, and Argos kind of adopted her and decided to keep her. So then I had 2 dogs. And then just 2 years ago, I adopted a Doberman. I do a lot of like nonprofit stuff. And so I was working with the largest no-kill animal shelter in North Texas called Operation Kindness. I was helping out with their annual gala, and they had puppies, like an adoption area. And so, being me, I spent about 2 hours like in this puppy adoption area, like playing with puppies in a rented ball gown, before I ever made it into like the ballroom. And so I came home that day with a Doberman puppy. She's an albino, so she's like blonde and blue-eyed and has a floppy ears, and she's 2 years old now. So I got 3 big dogs, just lots of dog food all the time.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Dogs are the best. So if you could be any Spice Girl, what Spice Girl would you be? And what was your favorite and least favorite Halloween costume growing up as a kid?
Okay, I think it's great. It's adorable that you said if you could be, as if I didn't dress up as the Spice Girls.
I'm just saying, I don't know your life. I'm just throwing it out there.
I know who I am. No, I was definitely always like Ginger because I have like this reddish hair. So I was always Ginger Spice. Always. Spice World, the movie, was a game changer for me. So, that was definitely a pivot in my life. And then Halloween costumes. Okay, so Halloween today, like, in the 2000s, like Halloween, the street that I live on in Dallas somehow is like this popular, crazy Halloween street. We literally have 1,000 trick-or-treaters come by. So it's like, we got a clicker one year and just like counted, like we had over 1,000 kids. So everyone on the street kind of does like elaborate setups. And so of course, like a bunch of friends come over. And so we'll do like themed things. Last year we did Haunted Tiki Island. So I had tiki torches everywhere. We did skeletons in the yard with like umbrellas and like on lawn chairs with Hawaiian shirts, drinking tiki cocktails. But we all like had different fun outfits for that. And my friend came up with like the funniest outfit. She's like, here's what we're gonna do. I have this big, giant like skirt. We're gonna decorate it like a volcano. And then the top of you need like a white outfit on top, and you're gonna be the virgin like sacrifice in the volcano. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't think the kids got it, but like all the parents were like, oh, that's weird. So like, that's what we do now. So Halloween, like I love Halloween, and as an adult, it's definitely much funner. Yeah.
Do you remember your first costume that you ever wore as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. My mother, the seamstress that she is, actually made us like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costumes. So for my brother and I. So we actually had like turtles, like turtle shells that were like pillowcases. Like she like sewed and like stuffed, like she sewed turtle shells that were just like, and stuffed them with pillow stuffing. But yeah, like I think I was like Raphael and my brother was Donatello. Like, yeah.
Well, I was Leonardo, so all we needed was Michelangelo. We would have been in there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles going after it.
That's hilarious, and I love it. So for those out there that are watching this and they're on the fence about whether or not they should join the USBG, what is the number one selling point that you tell people this is why you should join us?
Well, right now, I think right now is a very valuable time to join. We just switched to a different model. So instead of everybody having like an anniversary join date, like mine was in April, everyone's going to rejoin at the same time of year. And to like to kickstart this whole thing, actually doing a pay what you can program. So one of the largest holdbacks that I've always heard from others, like, oh, but it costs like $125. Like, I just don't have that right now. And I'm like, I get it. Like something, paying money to join anything, sometimes you don't see the value in it. And I understand that. So right now we're doing this pay what you can model. So if you go on usbg.org, you can sign up. There are promo codes for this pay what you can. So, even if it's $25, you can do that. If it's $50 off, the main fee, you can do that. So whatever you need to take off, there's a promo code for that so that you can afford it. But, if it was any other time of year, I would always remind people about the quality of events that the USBG puts on, the access to the type of educational events, the camaraderie itself. That's one of the pillars of the USBG. Camaraderie really plays a huge part in what we do, that sharing of information and that sharing of knowledge, getting together and having these like wonderful discussions about spirits or painting or philosophy. Like we do that too. Locally, every chapter operates differently, and so they're going to have different educational experiences. Here in Dallas, we offer educational scholarships for our members. So if somebody in Dallas, that's a member, wants to, get their SOM, like their level 1, or wants to do WSET, like they can come to us and say, hey, I want to do this. Here's how much it costs. This is what I'm going to contribute to this. If anything, this is what I can plan on contributing to the USBG later on with this knowledge that I'm gaining. And can I have this money? And, normally we're just like, yeah, sure, here it is. Like we bought master class passes last year, just so that, we could watch cooking classes and things like that, and all, learn how to cook earlier this year when we were all stuck in the house for so much time. In Dallas, we also do a lot of trips together. So there's so many opportunities with chapters to travel together. We always partner with the San Antonio Cocktail Conference this year, around, or like this time of year, and we start to, get that ball rolling. And so I'm really disappointed we won't be able to do that this January, but hopefully, 2022. We take, over a dozen chapter members. We pay for their room, their board. We get the meals. We get them all access passes to SACC, and all they have to do is like volunteer to work a couple of shifts with, national ambassadors for other brands, like learning about these other spirits, just having a good time for a few hours a night. And so we do these things together. There's also opportunities to work, in Dallas, like I mentioned earlier, one of our fundraising mechanisms is to kind of do cocktail catering for other organizations and other events. So, there's opportunities to actually work and get paid very well to, come and work with us and just have fun, like for an event, like, yeah, let's go do a nonprofit event and we're just gonna all have fun and kick it and go out to eat, beforehand and have drinks later. And also you're gonna get paid to do it. So the opportunities in the USBG are so vast, there's so many things across all other chapters that they have going on, whether it's competitions or travel. Right before COVID hit, we were planning on taking about 20 members for the biggest thing that we've ever planned to do. We were going to take 20 members to go for Tales on Tour. We had distillery tours set up afterwards. We had educational things set up with Tales and outside of Tales. We had community service projects set up. And so hopefully we'll be able to circle back and do that, in 2022. But there's so much stuff that the USBG does that I don't think everybody sees on the surface. They just think, oh, this is just a way for brand sponsors to, funnel money to bartenders and, do X, Y, and Z. And it always goes to the same people. And my response to that is, if you get involved, you're involved. Like if you see a problem, if you don't like the way that your chapter is being managed, get involved. Like if you don't like it, do something about it. Like you have to be the change in your community if you want to see that change. So, get involved, do whatever you can, but it's really just the opportunities that are under the surface that you don't really see. So talk to some of your council members, talk to other members in your community and ask like, what are the coolest educational things you've done? What are the coolest social things you've done? What opportunities are out there? And that's what I would recommend. But that now structure, pay what you can, structure is what I would really tell everybody because of the financial crisis that we all seem to be facing together. So I'd look into that.
Word.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We've seen a really good response to it so far here in our market. So I'm excited to see the potential of it. I think it's going to be really great, and there's going to be a lot to do when we're able to open again. I think it's going to be they're going to be looking for lots of us to host parties and bartend parties and do all this stuff. So I think that's really great. Outside of the outside of the USBG, did I read that you also are involved in something called Overproof now?
Oh yeah, so I was working with him for a moment, and I still am just a touch. Overproof is a company that was founded by Mark Duke-Hyper, of the Duke-Hypers, of course. And so what they saw is that there was a space in the restaurant and bar world for lots of opportunity and growth. And it really had to do around technology and also providing supplier support and like how to bridge that gap. So what Overproof does is several things. Provides services to suppliers on one end, to track their KPIs, kind of as a CRM, that client relationship management platform. They do that. But on the restaurant and bar side, what they do is they offer support to bars and restaurants by having a huge network of large and small suppliers that all pitch in to support basically like feature programming. So what it does is it allows bars and restaurants the flexibility to basically like choose their own adventure when it comes to how they're receiving like supply support and how they are implementing supplier features. So, basically whatever works for you is how it works in your bar. So what we do is if you really love working with Bacardi, or if you really love working with like Brienne, or if you really love working with Illegal, or if you love working with, whatever brand it is you like, we probably have a partnership with them in that market. And so it's easy as like setting up a feature menu and having a drop down tab. So that's one side of it. And you receive like supplier support through that. And the supplier support comes in lots of different ways. And one of the main ways that it is delivered to bars and restaurants is through an online ordering platform that's completely free and takes absolutely no revenue. So, we have Grubhub and Uber Eats and all those other services that are doing, to-goes and deliveries that you order through, and they take 30% of your revenue, right? And so what Overproof does is it actually provides like a free service to bars and restaurants. It sets up your entire menu. It basically mirrors onto your POS system. So it's just, live. If you 86 an item, it goes off of Overproof that day. And it's through an app called 6 Dots. So you would order through this app called 6 Dots, go to your favorite bar restaurant, you can order, and they keep 100% of the revenue. And, all that the bars and restaurants have to do is basically sign up with one of our supplier partners every month to have a feature cocktail program. So, if that's a value to them, then that's amazing, because I would rather be able to offer you a cocktail partnership and say, here, you can choose any brand that you want. What do you like? We aren't going to try to sell you a brand that you do not work with. Like, if you don't want flavored vodka, we're not going to offer it to you. If you only have agave spirits, here are all the agave spirits that you can choose from. And in turn, what you're getting is access to a platform that charges nothing for all of your to-goes and delivery orders, which I think right now, like living in the time where we're living and all of the to-go ordering that has been going on for the past 9 months, I think that's a great value. So that's kind of what Overproof does in a nutshell. It's just a way to kind of give back to the community, but also to actually find sustainable like mechanisms for building that relationship with suppliers, but also offering something of great value to bars and restaurants to keep their own money. They should keep their own money.
Yes, they need every penny right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, so it's a little bit of both, but also, through this program, if you partner with, X brand for, this month, they can come in on the back end. They can order through the app, like do samplings through the app, so that they don't actually have to come into your bar or restaurant if there's some kind of, a problem with them coming, say if they live, far away, if they live in another city, or if they're immunosuppressed and they can't come and do like the normal samplings that they would. Like, this is just an opportunity for them to do something legally and compliantly, because compliance is key in supplier in the supplier world, as y'all know. And so it's just an opportunity for bars and restaurants and suppliers to connect, but also to help provide another stream of revenue, if you will. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've all been kind of at home during this time called the pandemic. What have you been watching? Have you like burnt out your Netflix? Has there been any new series that have popped up that have caught your attention? Or have you cracked open a library that you got at home and started reading books? Like what's your jam right now?
I've cracked open a lot of things, bottles and books. Yes. So I, went back and touched on some of the Russians again. Looked at some flipped through old whiskey books, just to kind of shore up some of that, old knowledge that, we always get and lose. But also I watched TV and put together puzzles. I was definitely the person that was ordering puzzles off Amazon. So what did I watch? Utopia. Definitely watched that. I love it. It's great. Not pandemic related, but it's so great. Cause I mean, it's Dwight from The Office being a serious scientist. It's wonderful. I just started on The American, so I'm naturally halfway done with that already. I love the Haunting movies, or the Haunting series on Netflix. So The Haunting of Bly Manor came out. Really good, ensemble cast. But I love these suspenseful drama series. I did not watch Love is Blind, did not get into that. Caught up from old Bachelorette seasons. I don't know, did a bunch of I definitely stress the limits. Oh, but I'm a big Star Wars nerdy nerd. So I rewatched Clone Wars. I rewatched Rebels, really got back into that stuff. And I'm glad that Mandalorian's back, and I'm so excited about all the new stuff that's coming out there. Yeah, I'm excited about the new series that I'm oh, okay. The Bad Batch. I'm excited. Okay, anyway, yeah. Ready for it.
That's hilarious. So, okay, so are you a proponent for the ObiWan coming out with Christian coming back as Darth Vader? Because me personally, yeah.
Chris finally woke up, everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
You went on mute.
I was on mute. So, are you a proponent for Christian coming back on ObiWan as Darth Vader?
Yes, and I will tell you why. Because we need that second chance. You got a second chance, buddy. Don't blow it. That's where I am with this. You just you get a second chance. Here we go. Don't screw up. Don't mess up.
I want there more Black people in space.
What's that?
Why weren't there more Black people in Star Wars?
I don't. Is this a joke that I'm waiting for a punchline, or are we going to get into this conversation?
Oh no, I mean I'm just throwing my 2 cents in.
I think because Sammy Jackson took all the money.
That would make sense.
He's only me.
No, I think with the new series though, we are seeing a richer casting. We are seeing better casting in the newer movie, in the newest trilogy. We saw some more diversity, and then also in the new series, I think we are seeing a little bit of some more richness coming through. So yeah, I'm with you.
That's real.
Yeah, definitely more so than what came out in the 70s.
That's kind of what I was referring back to, because as a kid it was kind of hard to be wait, so we couldn't fly too? That's crazy.
Yeah, you had Lando, and I'm you need more than that. Come on. So anyway, but yeah, no, I agree with you on that front.
Very much.
So I think with people becoming more aware of how they're controlling their spaces, I think we're going to see more of that. I hope. People saying, hey, let's do this. walking the walk, talking the talk kind of thing. And, you know, looking at men, looking at even like their directors and seeing the diversity amongst their directors recently has been really cool to see what they've done there. So just having different voices behind the camera definitely affects what's going on in front of the camera. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think Mandalorian has like started that really cool wave of this. So instead of, you know, just white men doing things. So anyway, yeah.
We suck.
It's
You're seeing
White
more,
men in
like, you're
space. Humans
like your
greatest
female
accomplishment.
directors. You're seeing like you're seeing just like a greater diversity in directors and creators behind the camera. You know, not only in that series, but other you know, other television, other spaces as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
It's amazing when you see like at that director level of anything, when it's so top of mind to create that space, how wide it spreads and how many things it touches, you know.
Yeah. And oh, I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that was my thought.
Like, you know, if you only have directors that, you know, can find action figures at the store that look like them, they aren't going to be thinking about what else is going on and who they're casting and what their creative choices are, until you have directors that are like, yeah, it's hard for me to find like Black Barbie dolls. Like, until you have that, you aren't going to kind of have that mindset and that experience that's been there for time, and to be able to put that on camera. So anyway, and that's been interesting. What was that? There was a show on Hulu early this year with who was it? It was like something fires, little fires everywhere.
Oh, Little Fires Everywhere with
And
Reese Witherspoon and yeah.
And they did an amazing job of having like all female creators behind the scenes, like all directors, all writers, everything. And so like you really had this like wonderful, you know, female perspective that like, what's the test? Is it the Bechdel test or the whatever test is it for like when women are on camera, do they talk more about men or do they talk about like other things outside of like, you know, relationships with boys, like that kind of test.
Right.
So when you have that kind of thing out there, you know, so I think that was a great example of like making sure that 100% of that behind the scenes work was, you know, women behind the camera. It really kind of shone through on the screen as well. But anyway.
My bad, y'all. I didn't mean that. I was just trying to be funny. And
No,
but this is an important conversation to have, and I think it's the right time to have it. You know, everybody has been home for the past 9 months, just now getting back into the world, and I'm like, yeah, everybody should have had some time to sit down and reflect on what the hell's going on in the world and like what they're seeing. And you know, television and film is definitely something that reflects back, you know, what our society is and like what's going on. So those things, like it's been a good time for reflection.
So what type of, okay, if you could be any car in the world at any point in time, what would you be?
Any car?
You're asking me like a car question? Wow, like talk about like shifting gears.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, but anyway. I don't know. I don't know. You would think that I would know more about cars. Like early on in my career, I did trackside marketing management for like NASCAR and NHRA and IRL and like all of these different things. And I'm like you would think I would know more about cars. And I'm like, oh, not really. But any car in time, like if I don't know. What was the talking car from
Kit.
Yeah.
Oh, Mo knew that in a second. Oh, it's Kit.
Yeah, come on. I'm the 80s baby, dog.
I'm like, that was quick. But yeah, that would be that was always fun.
I'll be a DeLorean.
What's that?
Anywhere. I want to be a DeLorean. I could be anywhere in time.
Yes, that I know. But then also, if you were DeLorean, like how much trouble would you start? Like,
Yeah.
I would literally create Zima and spell it with 2 E's. Just like my dude Canyon, our producer, is a great kid, but he spells Zima with 2 E's. So that's what I would do just for him because I love that guy. I would change the game for Canyon.
that's awesome. What was it? Hot Tub Time Machine. He goes back and creates his own version of Google, but he calls it something else, like ridiculous.
Mhm. I would win every sports bet.
Yeah,
ever, by
for
the
sure.
way. I mean, come on.
I think Biff did that, didn't he? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's so funny.
All the
Ridiculous.
sports bets. All the sports bets.
All the
Just-
sports bet, yeah.
Although, speaking of sports, did you see the cool news today? Major League Baseball did.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, baseball still exists?
Oh my God.
Baseball still exists. Like I just saw this morning. It was posted in the Wall Street Journal, which I already have words with them from what things that they've posted this week. But I saw this like on a Real Sports a few weeks ago. MLB finally like acknowledged all the blackface.
Yep.
I was like, oh, there we go, which like just changes the game when it comes to all of the like records. So
Yeah, so the Negro Leagues are gonna be they're gonna go into the record books, but they're gonna be split. So you'll have stats of like guys like Satchel Paige and Jackie Robinson's and a lot of the other players that came into the league later. You'll have those stats that they accumulated in those years added, which, I mean, for the kids, especially like kids like myself and future generations, they'll be able to go back and like, Satchel Paige is not someone that's going to ring too many bells as we get older, but then you'll be able to look at this guy's numbers and be like, he was one of the greatest pitchers to ever walk. He just didn't get a chance to pitch into the big leagues until he was basically an old man, and he's still killing it.
Just talented. But did you see that Real Sports episode? And I had no idea that like this was a something that had been going on. And so, seeing that news today, I was like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Like something was done.
So I wanted to ask you I'm not going to ask you if you could be any car or any animal or any boat, but I am going to channel my inner Chris Dempsey because I am wearing a Dempsey hat today.
It is a Dempsey hat.
And I'm going to ask you, what do you prefer, bourbon or rye?
Rye.
And if you were able to build a mash bill, what would your rye mash bill consist of? And what kind of cask would you mature it in? Actually, that's one of my questions. I'm just wearing a Dempsey hat. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I do like primarily rye, obviously. Like I love rye, like I'm a rye girl. So I don't know. I'd probably do like 6 to 9% malted barley, and then the rest rye. That's where I would be. But that wood science in me, like, oh gosh, like yes, I want to start out with like Quercus alba. Like let's do that, charred new American oak. Absolutely. I'd do like a classic alligator on that. But then I don't know, like I would look at finishing in maybe like a PX sherry or something. Like that's always been one of my favorite go-to finishes on any whiskey that I have. I mean, right now I'm having a whiskey that is an American. It's a bourbon, but it's a double oak bourbon, but it is like that American oak, but then it's finished in sherry cask. And I'm just like, oh man, I'd love to like have like even deeper notes. And so like anytime I can have like PX sherry finishes, I'm about it. But then I see somebody mentioned maybe a Zima cask.
So that's Canyon. That's the guy that spells Zima with 2 E's.
He had to Google it when we were talking about it because
I mean, that's artistry right there. You want to talk about like art versus science and distillation and like maturing and aging. That's art.
How would the
Pour
eight,
7
the
Up in your
octagon
wine.
like sides of that, affect the taste?
Just pour some ginger ale in your rye and call it a day. I mean, come on.
Drop some Jolly Ranchers in.
Yeah. More corn and fructose syrup, please.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So when
really
we're all able to belly up to the bar again, which is like, I know we're able to go out and support our friends and to go and this and that, but what I miss most is just going and sitting at the bar with the bartender. And we haven't at least been able to do that here at all in quite some time. So where is your first stop going to be when you can really just go anywhere you want?
So, God, that's such a good question. There's a place down the street from me called Tiny Victories. And I actually popped in there the other day. Like I've been doing other events. And so I was executing some events over at the rodeo. And so I was like on this like crazy 10-day stretch of work. And like in the middle of it, I was on my way home and I was like, screw it, I need a drink. And so I went to Tiny Victories and I sat like, off by myself. I sat with, the man, and I was like, I want a daiquiri. And I'm like, yeah, I ordered a trifecta. I was like, I want a daiquiri, a pony, and a shot of rye. Like, this is what I want. Like this, I want all three, like just all three in front of
You
me.
just got off work, obviously.
Yeah, no less than 3 drinks.
But yeah, like that. I was like, this is what I want. I was like, the daiquiri perfectly balanced. I was like, yes, like that, like satiated like that need. And I was like, oh, rye that I didn't pull off a shelf in my own house. And then, a pony, like just, yes, like, let me have that little baby high life. But yeah, there's some definite bars. I mean, our buddy Tober just opened up Nickel City in Fort Worth. I've been there a few times. I love going down to Austin and seeing them, but it's really cool that like that's in the neighborhood now. But yeah, Tiny Victories is one of my favorites. Also Adair's. Where else do it's almost, I'm like, I've almost forgotten where I like to go. There's a restaurant here in Dallas that's in my neighborhood called Boulevardier, and I
got frozen.
swing in on a Saturday, on a Sunday,
So
have some drinks. Anyway,
Yeah, I love Boulevardier. It's so good.
yeah.
I
Dempsey
feel
knows.
like yeah, Fernet Bone Luge all day.
That's always a win. Always a win.
Yeah. But anyway, hopefully soon. Miss them.
Yeah. Have you been to Paradiso to see what is the elves or the Christmas thing they have going on? It's beautiful.
I have not, but I mean, it's in my neighborhood, so maybe I'll come by. Yeah. But I really miss live music. Like I miss being able to go and like, do 3 links on a Tuesday, go see like, yeah, I miss going to things like that. So
We gotta go to Revelers.
go to Revelers. Yeah.
Yeah. But and it's crazy. Like I'll be out, especially down in Bishop, and people start walking in, and if there's like more than 5 people walking, I'm like, tab, please, I'm out. Mask, I'm out. Bye, everyone. Good knowing you.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's how it is. Well, it looks like Mo accidentally clocked himself out of here, and we are coming up on our hour. Naomi, I want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. You're, beautiful soul and a great leader for us here in Dallas, and I thank you. Do you have anything you want to say to the fans at home that are watching?
The fans at home. No, thank you for this opportunity. It's always, an honor to be asked to do this stuff. And I've known Dempsey for how long? Like almost a decade, like, I don't know, forever. And so it was like, yes, obviously, like it wasn't even really much of a question when you asked. I was like, of course, like obviously. So, thank you for thinking of me for this.
Yeah, for sure. Mary, do you have anything you want to say to everybody?
No, just have a really, wonderful holidays, very safe. And, if you can't be with your friends and family, definitely Zoom them. It's a lot just to see each other,
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. It's nice to meet you.
Meet you.
Right on. Well, we'll say bye for Mo because he is, there's probably forest fires taking him out right now. Mary, over in DC. Me and Naomi here in Dallas. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all again next week, same time. Wait, are we coming back next week, Mary?
No, I don't believe so. 2 weeks from now, we will be coming back.
Oh, Mo's back. Hi,